despite the best efforts by royal courtiers and her personal physician to shield Queen Elizabeth II from COVID-19. Yesterday, Buckingham Palace confirmed that the 95-year-old monarch had contracted the virus. Though the palace assured the public that she was exhibiting mild cold-like symptoms, the announcement heightened concerns about the world's longest reigning monarch. Just 2 weeks ago, she marked 70 years on the British throne. The Queen, who has been fully vaccinated against coronavirus, quipped just 5 days ago to palace staff that she could not move much, and she spent a night in hospital last October for an unspecified ailment. Now joining us from London to bring us up to speed on her well-being and what protocols are in place in the event her health takes a turn for the worse is ARISE Editorial Director Jennings. Good morning, Nick, and thank you for joining us on the morning show.
Hello, good morning.
Well, what's the update with regard to the situation with the monarch, the Queen of England, Elizabeth II? The concern is not just local, it's international. Everyone is watching that story with great concern.
Well, if anybody personifies the British bulldog spirit, and we have a mantra here in Britain of keep calm and carry on, and that is exactly what the Queen encapsulates. The message from Windsor Castle is that the Queen has a mild cold. That's the symptom she has. No cause for alarm, and she is very well, and there is no need for the public to worry. Of course, the public are very concerned. There's been a stream of messages from across the United Kingdom and across the Commonwealth and beyond, wishing the Queen good health, because of course at her age she is indeed it is a worry whether the situation could deteriorate, but the message very much is that she is fine. The Queen's health is usually kept a very private matter, but her condition is being very closely monitored, we're told, and the Queen's physician, Sir Hugh Thomas, is keeping a very close eye on her. We're told that she's going to be carrying out light duties. She's on her feet. She will be looking at government documents and signing paperwork that she needs to sign and getting on as well as she can. And that's very much the message that the Queen would like to send.
And message received loud and clear to everybody's relief, I imagine. So her online engagements that have been previously scheduled have not been cancelled. That also signals that she's not in any kind of physical distress. Do we have other information? Is there a doctor at hand at Windsor Castle? Is there any kind of medical team that's been deployed there?
Well, yes, as I said, the Queen's physician, Sir Hugh Thomas, is there. I mean, that's his main role, is to look after the Queen's health. Nobody could be in better hands in the United Kingdom when it comes to an old person getting the right treatment for COVID than the Queen, obviously. So she's got a full staff of medical teams looking after her, monitoring her. She's on her feet. She's carrying out light duties. And the message, as I said, very clearly from here is no cause for alarm. But of course, people are concerned because these events can take a turn for the worse. But we've seen how many people now have been affected with the latest variant of the pandemic and are managing to pull through because they've had the right number of vaccinations, the right number of the right medication, etc. And of course, the Queen will be getting the very best treatment.
Okay, Nick, well, this question is hypothetical. I don't imagine that we should get to that stage. But if the Queen were to get too ill to be able to carry out her duties, give approvals, read the correspondence and all of that, what will happen? Who will step in the case of the Queen being too ill?
We haven't seen that. We haven't seen that event happen for the last 70 years. There will be precautions in place. Obviously, the next in line to the throne is Prince Charles, but government business will continue as normal. The government business won't stop because the Queen's been taken ill or the Queen's too ill to sign any documents. There will, of course, be precautions in place and there will be procedures. But I don't think anybody is talking at this stage about that being a likely event.
Will there be any political consequences? Because obviously you're aware the Prime Minister Boris Johnson wanting to end certain COVID rules like the legal requirement to self-isolate in the event that a person tests positive for COVID. And he's been accused by the opposition of declaring victory before the war is over. Will the Queen's diagnosis lend credence to those criticisms?
I very much doubt it. Boris Johnson, the British Prime Minister, is due to address Parliament later today and lay out the new measures that the government has in mind, pretty much to declare what they're calling Freedom Day, where restrictions are eased and the country basically gets back to normal. It's worth pointing out that just over 91% of the UK population aged 12 and over has had a first dose of the vaccine. 85% have had the second jab. And I think that the figures for a booster are something like 66%. The country is very well vaccinated, but of course the pandemic continues to affect people. As of yesterday, the UK recorded another 25,696 new infections and a further 74 deaths within a 28 period of being first tested positive for the coronavirus. So yes, although the government is going to be, or Boris Johnson is going to be addressing Parliament and making it clear that the government thinks it's now time to get back to business as normal and stop restrictions and stop self-isolation, many senior scientists and medical officials believe that might be a little bit early. Now, whether the Queen's situation has changed the dynamics on that, I very much doubt. I don't think the Queen herself would want her particular ailment to be a reason for any change of the political thrust that Boris Johnson wants to put through. Although I have to say this is going to be debated in Parliament later today. It could be a very raucous affair, as it normally is, but the British government really does now want to move on, close the door on COVID, and believe that, you know, through herd immunity and the right medication, that we will pull through this.
Okay, Nick, at the risk of digressing slightly, what do you think of the plan by the Prime Minister to announce his living with the COVID plan and also this removal of all restrictions? I know that this is a trend around, but in Boris Johnson's case, the indication is that this has to do with that scandal about Partygate and an attempt to meet the people halfway and try to chop back part of his lost popularity. Do you think that what we're dealing with here is politics rather than the science?
Well, I think it's difficult for Boris Johnson. Many things at the moment are difficult for Boris Johnson, but he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. He did recently face a big backlash from over 100 members of the Conservative Party, not about Partygate, but about not lifting restrictions quick enough, because a large body of the Conservative Party wanted, you know, business back as usual and get the economy back on track and things like that. So it is inevitable at some point in these pandemics, and we may face this in the future, the government face difficult challenges and difficult questions and difficult decisions about when to call a halt on all the restrictions and get the country back on track and get the economy back on track. Now, the indications are that because of the number of vaccinations that have been carried out, as I gave you the figures a short while ago, a large number of the British population have had a second dose and indeed a booster, that they think this is the right time, and particularly because the number of people that are still getting affected by it are getting the Omicron variant, which of course doesn't have such serious medical consequences. So maybe this is the right time. We'll see what happens in Parliament, but all the indications are that this will go through.
Well, thank you very much, Nick Jennings. Thank you very much indeed.